What's up, people? I am back. Sorry I didn't do the foreigner video. I'll do that one probably tomorrow. But I had to do this video because this is a video I've wanted to do this one for a while. I did like a video, this was like a year ago now, where I compared it to BVS and why I thought BVS was better done. But I've wanted to go into explicitly why I don't like this movie. And this isn't about me being a BVS or a DC fan, because to me, I don't look at things like that. I'm more of a DC guy, I'll admit it, but this isn't explicitly why. I fucking love Winter Soldier. I wanted a really good Cap 3 that almost was a conclusion to the trilogy. You could have still used Cap and Solo in like team ups, but I wanted like a legit Cap 3 that like capped off the trilogy, and I don't think we got that. There was no reason they had to do Civil War. So my fixing, I was gonna do initially, I was gonna do two. One of them was gonna be the Solo Cap 3, but another one was gonna be I'll use their shitty Civil War plot and just go with it. But the problem was, the more I thought about it, no, they didn't need to do this. This should have never been a Civil War movie. This is their reaction to BVS. I don't know if they were freaked out because like, oh, DC's doing something big, so we got to do something big. But it's like Marvel, you already have the people. I wanted, like I said again, a real Cap 3 that was after the epicness and beautifulness of fucking Winter Soldier, and to go from that to this just bogged down, half-assed Avengers movie that didn't even live up to the name. Because Civil War, I understand there are people who like this movie. I understand. My opinion is not popular, but they defend it. They'll say like, "Well, they didn't have all the characters." Okay, they should have never did it then. Honestly, right now would have probably, if they didn't kill Cap or or kill Tony, and if they never did what they did with Cap, if they did none of that, right now would be like the perfect time to do a Civil War movie. They have everyone now. They should have waited. There was no reason. But anyway, let's get into the fucking movie. But before that, I'm packing this bowl right now. Alright. Take a hit. We'll get fucking started. Sorry about that. Anyway. But let's get started. The problem, there's like a few issues I have with this movie. One, it doesn't know what tone it wants to be. It starts off really serious, and I'll admit, the beginning is actually the best part of the film. When they went to, I don't remember the country, but that opening sequence with Cap taking out those dudes, and that was good. And then all of a sudden it switches in like the middle of the film, like pretty much once Spider-Man's introduced, or Iron Boy. I will say this, the only time I will give that I like Iron Boy and Black Panther, honestly, in this film. But anyway, more into them later. But once he's introduced, it switches to like a comedy, like a usual MCU film. Like, I'm like, oh, it's like Ant-Man humor. And then all of a sudden it's really serious again in the end. It's so inconsistent. And you know, there are movies that are, you could say, are multiple genres. Lethal Weapon, which I just recently talked about, is multiple genres. You know, it's comedy, it's very action heavy at times, but they know how to balance it, and it's not like a fucking jarring. Like with Civil War, it's such a jarring change. It's not like natural like Lethal Weapon. Like 1 minute it can be a comedy, you know, Riggs can be joking around. Like even in Lethal Weapon 2, which I watched again last night, you know, the bad guy, the guy who killed his wife, even when he's all like tied up and stuff, he starts off kind of joking, and then once it's found out, oh, he's the one who killed his wife, she gets serious. It's not jarring though. It's consistent, but with Civil War, it's such a jarring change. It's like, wait, why is it all comedy now? Like the parking lot, like is the worst. The parking lot fight. That's what it was. It was a fuck airport, whatever the fuck. It was an airport fight. It was fucking bad, and people hyped this up. At the time, it was kind of entertaining. I can get it if you initially watched it. Okay, okay, this is entertaining, but it doesn't hold up. They're just joking at each other. And the thumbnail of this video, yeah, I mean, I used it in another video, but it's gonna illustrate that point. Oh, we're still friends? Oh, you're not if you hit me. Like when Cap and, not Cap, Black Widow and Hawkeye were just joking at each other. I'm like, what the fuck? That's the epitome of this movie. Is that the consistence, the fact the Accords don't matter an hour in. The Accords it's almost contrived how it even happened, because so few people die, which I'm not saying is not a bad thing, but I mean, why is it now? It's a problem. Like, it's and Tony's switch up is almost like, I get it. He feels really bad because he was the one who did Ultron in that scene with that mother. I get like, why you should have did it like the comic. I get you couldn't do the registration act fully, but you could have did something else, because it felt contrived to get this whole Accords, and they don't matter an hour in it. Definitely by the next film, which is Doctor Strange, they don't matter. They don't matter in the later films. They don't matter an hour into this one. It was just a fucking thing so we can have them fight. That's all it was. It was just a thing so we could have them split up. And it's nothing wrong, because some movies, you could break it down simply. Oh, they're a plot device to get this to happen. Yeah, is it true? But you got to do it in a way where you don't believe that it is. You just believe, oh, it happened. But the way Civil War, or I'm calling it Civil Play Fight throughout this video, Civil Play Fight did it was just almost like you just had to get them to fight, so you did this. There was no need for it. Tony, you know how people were bitching about BVS, like, oh, Batman and Superman could have talked, they didn't know each other. Cap and Tony could have talked. Yeah, they weren't best friends, but it's like they knew each other for years. And why are they just quick to just fight each other? It doesn't, in the comic, it's almost like built up. It's gradual. In this, it's just like they're quick to fight each other already. And like I said, the biggest issue, it's like Age of Ultron and a lot of the future MCU, it's too jokey. When they're in the middle of the fight joking at each other, I can't. It's one thing when it's Spider-Man and maybe Ant-Man being the punny guys, and then Tony throwing a few quips too. Okay, that's cool. But this is when like everybody started becoming the quip. It killed the vibe of that fight. I'll say this. The few positives are, I like some of the costumes. I love Cap's costume in this. Like, probably my favorite Cap costume of the movies. And I do think the end fight, even though it's not fully great, was decent. But it, just like I said, it gets bogged down by... Oh, and the other two positives are, this is the only time I could say I liked Iron Boy. He at least felt a little bit like Spider-Man. And Black Panther actually felt charismatic. I liked his costume. He was imposing. He felt like he belonged. This wasn't like in Black Panther where he's just he's just there. And that's it. And that's his own fucking movie. So I will say that. But back to the just overall. The jokiness, the tone change. I think nothing really happens in the middle of the film. That's my other issue. I felt really bored. And the fact that BVS, which is a longer movie, 3 hours, I didn't feel bored at all. Or I'll even compare it to like Watchmen, which is way longer. It's not about dialogue, a scene where they're talking, because I'm not one of those people that needs action every fucking 5 minutes. If you have compelling story, you have a compelling dialogue, I can be there. But this movie didn't do it for me. There's just scenes I'm just like, okay, can we get to this? Why was Zemo? I think that's another issue. If you take Zemo out, I probably would like this movie a bit more. You didn't need a bad guy fucking pulling the strings in the background. What made the comic great? There were bad because there's a part where Tony recruits some bad guys, but there was no bad guy pulling the strings in the background to make them fight. No, it was just about their ideals, and they should have just did that. There was no need for fucking Zemo, because Zemo was he's another one who was just a plot device. His plan relied purely on luck. Like somehow he's able to pass as like a therapist or some doctor in in like Avengers headquarters. Okay, I'm supposed to just believe that. Okay. Um, he could just set off an EMP without nobody noticing. He just happens to know this existence of this video of Bucky killing Tony's parents. It's like the convenience, bro, is a bit like, come on. How did you know this was gonna fucking happen? It. He wasn't needed. I think, and in my story, my fix it, Zemo will be in it because he's Zemo in the comics is Hydra. The fact that they try to make him not Hydra made no sense to me. And people, there are people who like him. They're trying to say, "Oh, he divided the." No, he didn't. There's no division. That's the other thing. By the end of the film, you know Tony's gonna call him. So no. They fought for a little bit, and Zemo's plan heavily relied on luck. There's just like, how does this fucking happen and not? And it's sad because how well written Winter Soldier was, and it's like we go to this, and it's like, really, you're gonna jump this villain somehow? A big thing I didn't like either was the convenience thing. If Sam didn't tell Tony where Cap and Buck were, I don't think he wouldn't have shown up, and Zemo wouldn't have been able to show him the video, and somehow this video is super clear, even though it's happened in 1991, but it's super clear. Okay. No, man, it's. I wish Civil War is just such a disappointing thing because what made the comic so good was the long-term effects afterwards into other comic stories. And with this movie was just a machine to get. All it was, in my opinion, was just a roadblock to get to Infinity War and Endgame. And that's not what you do with this storyline. Civil War should not be a storyline just so you can get to another storyline. That's not how it should work. This should be the storyline you lead to. And that's the disappointing factor to me. That's why I'm like, if you're just gonna do that, you should have just did a Cap 3. And that could have been, okay, your way to get to Infinity War and Endgame. You could have did it. Because the comics after that story carried over. You don't get that in this. Fucking, shit doesn't even matter by the time we get to Doctor Strange and by the time Infinity War comes around. None of it fucking matters. Tony, Cap comes back and is welcomed back pretty quick, and him and Tony make up. It doesn't matter. Just so you can, it sucks. And 5 years later, no one's talking about it. Besides the Spider-Man scene, which I will give you was cool. But that was it. And the Black Panther scenes. Like, you had some decent action, minus some of, like, that super shaky cam shit. But you did have some decent action, but... Oh, there was no deaths. And you're doing a story like Civil War and no major death happened. You kidding me? That comic, they killed Captain America. I get it, you're not going to do that. This is why, once again, you don't do that storyline, because there's a lot of fucking expectations you're doing, and you don't fill them up. No one died. Oh, Rhodey got his leg broke, but he's walking, or he's getting treated for it with Tony Tech by the end of it, so it doesn't matter. No long-term effects after. The Accords don't matter by the next fucking movie. It was just a thing to get them to fight. They didn't need to do this. There was no need to do the Civil War story. Should have did a real Cap 3. Because this doesn't feel like a conclusion to a trilogy at all. This doesn't even feel like a Captain America movie. I feel like Tony had some more scenes in this. uh, I don't know. It's just, after like I wanted so much more. After Winter Soldier, we got like an incredible film. So I was ready for that third film to wow me, and then we get this a half-assed Avengers film just so we could get one cool scene of Cap. And I'll admit, when Cap and Iron Man and Bucky, like when Cap and Bucky team up on Iron Man, it was cool. And the scene where Cap has the shield and Iron Man, because that's right out of the comic, that scene's cool, but it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter afterwards. It was just a roadblock just to get to this. And that's not what the Civil War story was. It's a bigger story than that. You cannot just make it, oh, we're just going to make it to where, oh, we just got to use it to get to this. And that is the problem I fundamentally have always kind of had with the MCU. Because they did this with Ultron. They just used Ultron as a stepping stone to get to the Thanos. When Ultron is one of their biggest rivals, and you can't, when you just use them as a stepping stone to get to another thing, they don't matter. That's why Civil War 5 years later doesn't fucking matter in the MCU. It happened. It just kind of happened. It's what's sad. And the story was so much bigger in the comics, and it was much more serious. People died. It actually felt like a war. This was just a fucking parking lot brawl, bro. This was a Survivor. I joke sometimes and say this was a Survivor Series tag team match from WWE. That's what this fucking was. Where they're joking at each other. Even like when they were fighting, there was no. I didn't feel like there was no stakes. It was like when you read the comic, there was so much stakes when they were fucking fighting, even if they didn't want to, which they felt. But you felt the stakes because they were actually fighting for something. And the other problem is a lot of the people who are members are just there. Like, really, the only ones who I feel like have any reason to be there is, well, Bucky's best is Tony is Cap's best friend, while Rhodey's Tony's. So it makes that's why they're there. Why was fucking, and I know Black Widow switched sides, which you could kind of tell they were making her like, because in the comics, Spider-Man was in both sides. Like he started off on Iron Man's side, but then he eventually joined Cap's. Like, but everyone else, I just felt like they just tagged along. And like I said, the Accords don't really matter, and it became more about Tony's grievance against Bucky for killing his parents. That's why, like I said, if you're gonna go that direction, they should have just stuck with that instead of trying to do, let's tack on this Accord shit, which won't even matter an hour in the movie. It's disappointing. I don't hate this movie necessarily. Like, I don't like it. It's definitely one of the more disappointing ones, just because what we should have gotten with a real Captain America 3. But I get why people like it, but I don't. And I was so disappointed with this, and it gets worse every time. And why didn't, and the other thing I just thought about, why didn't Zemo just email? He had the video. It's 2016 when this film came out, and probably when it was set in. How come, why didn't fucking Zemo just email him? Email Tony. Why did he have to do a lot of the shit he did? That made no sense. So, I just had to do this video. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and it's cool if people like it, but personally, I think this film sucks, and such disappointing from what we should have gotten with the comic. Should have never did it. I wanted a real Captain America 3, and that'll be what my video will be tomorrow, where I will fix this film, and it will not be a Civil War film. I was gonna do a version where I can, because I feel like you could make that, but no. Because it would have just, any version would just be a watered down version of a comic. The Civil War is too big of a story to just be used as a building block just to get to Infinity War. The Civil War storyline is too big to do that. So what I'm gonna do is what this film should have been, and And there were originally, it was supposed to be a Captain America 3 called Serpent Society. Though I've heard people try to say that was fake, that was never real. I think it was. And I'm even though it's gonna be on my thumbnail, it's not gonna be Serpent Society per se, but it will be definitely. We're gonna make this film what it should have been, a real Captain America 3 that kind of concludes this trilogy, and then maybe you can just use Cap in like team ups, because I think that's what we should have gotten instead of just this half-assed attempt at Civil War, which it really wasn't. So, but other than that. Anyway. God. So, fuck Warner Brothers. Fuck Disney. Fuck Kevin bitch ass Smith. Fuck La bitch. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.